the length of one song. In the green and hilly Ozark country, where the creeks run cold and clear over smooth, pale stones, there lived a girl named Grace, and she was not quite the same girl she had been 5 years before. She had auburn hair, the color of autumn leaves before they fall, and grey eyes that saw more of the world than she ever spoke aloud, and she walked upon a crutch, for she had but one leg. Those who knew Grace said her grey eyes had grown steadier since the business with the goblin of Little Sugar Creek. That dark and slippery creature she and Dewberry had faced together on the small bridge that spans the creek when she was 12, and come away wiser and unbroken. Grace herself said very little on the subject. She had learned in the years since that day that some experiences belong more to the soul than to the tongue, and that keeping them quietly is its own kind of strength. In that country, spring came slowly and sweetly, breathing first upon the red buds along the creek banks and then coaxing the dogwoods into their white and delicate bloom. When spring came, people's hearts opened a little, the way flowers do without being able to help it. Word went round the county that there was to be a dance in the town of Pineville, and every heart in the valley opened a little further at the news. Grace's mother wrapped up a dried apple stack cake in a clean flour sack and talked happily of dresses and neighbors. And Grace's father sat on the porch tuning his old banjo, plucking each string with solemn care, for he would play for the dancing. As it was with all that he did, he took the work seriously. He was that sort of man. "You'll come, won't you, Grace?" her mother said. And though it was shaped like a question, it was really something gentler and harder to refuse than that. Grace looked out the window at the Green Creek bottom and said she didn't know that she was much for dancing. Her mother set down the cake and came and put her hand upon Grace's shoulder. She held it there for a moment without speaking, which said a great deal more than speaking could have managed. Now, there was a little fairy creature who lived along the creek beneath the roots of an old sycamore, and her name was Dewberry. She was no larger than a hand, and her wings were the color of dragonfly wings and scattered light into small rainbows when the sun found them. Her eyes were bright and old and knowing, and she loved Grace very much. That evening, Grace went down to the flat limestone rock where she liked to sit and listen to the water. And Dewberry came out of the shadows and settled herself upon Grace's knee, folding her slender hands the way a schoolteacher might, when she is about to say something important. "The world is full of music," Dewberry said. "A girl who has heard this creek sing every morning of her life ought not to be frightened of a fiddle and a banjo. You have never let the water stop you from coming to it. Do not let a dance hall stop you either. You are stronger in spirit than you know." Grace could not argue with Dewberry. She had tried it before and found it little worth the effort. So Grace put on the long white dress her mother had sewn the autumn before, the one that swept the floor and moved like something living when she walked, and her mother threaded a red ribbon through her auburn hair. When Grace looked into the small mirror above the washstand, she thought she looked like someone she would have liked very much. The dance was held in the big room above Carver's store in Pineville, and by the time the Whitaker wagon came into town, lantern light was pouring out of the upstairs windows in great warm rivers. The musicians on the landing were tuning their instruments, and the sound of strings finding their pitch made something loosen in Grace's chest that she had not known was tight. She found a chair along the wall and sat with her crutch across her knee and watched. The room was warm, and it smelled of wood smoke and lilac water, and the children chased each other between the dancers' legs. The old folks clapped and called out, and the young people in their good clothes moved across the floorboards in a bright and laughing swirl. It was all very beautiful, the way ordinary happiness always is when you are still enough to truly look at it. There was a boy at the dance named Eli Simpson. He was not the tallest boy in the room, but he moved with an easy confidence, and there always seemed to be girls nearby hoping he would look their way. He danced with one, and then another, and then he crossed the room as if he had meant to do it all along, and he crouched down before Grace's chair so that he was not towering above her. They talked about mules and creek levels and other comfortable things, the way people do when they are feeling their way towards something else. Then he asked if she would like to dance. "I cannot," Grace said, "on account of my affliction, my missing leg," and she said it plainly and without apology, as she had learned to do. Eli considered this with a serious face. "I am strong enough to hold you up," he said, "if you would trust me to." He said it simply, without any pity in it, and without any great performance of courage either, and that, more than anything, was why she said yes. The musicians drew their bows across their strings and played an old song, Sweet Betsy from Pike, slow and sweet. And Eli held Grace with both arms steady and sure, and they danced. Her white dress moved along the floor, and her red ribbon caught the lantern light. As the two moved, she looked not at the watching faces, but at the dark window where the spring night pressed gently against the glass. And she felt, for the length of that single song, that she was exactly where she was supposed to be. Even a fairy watching from the sill of that window, wings folded tight in the night air, might have smiled to see it. That is not quite the end of the story, and you must be brave, because the endings of true things are not always the endings we would choose for them. In the year that followed, Eli sometimes rode his horse past the Whitaker place and stopped to lean against the fence post and talk. Grace would sit on the porch step and answer him, and sometimes an hour passed without either of them noticing. It was the quiet, undemanding kind of friendship that does not require much tending to keep itself alive, and it was good. Then one spring, when the redbuds were coming out again along the creek, word came that there had been a hunting accident on the ridge above the Elk River. Grace sat with the news for a long time before she felt its full weight. Eli was dead. She went down to the creek in the afternoon and sat on her flat limestone rock and let the cold water talk to her. After a while, she heard a small flutter of wings, and Dewberry came and settled on the sycamore root beside her without saying anything at first, because Dewberry was old enough and wise enough to know when silence was the right thing. "He was kind to me," Grace said at last, and her voice was steady even with the tear on her cheek. "He was," Dewberry agreed, as she sat very still with her wings folded, watching the water move over the pale stones. "The good ones usually are." The light went gold and then soft along the creek, and Grace talked about Eli and about the dance and about the old song her father had played, slow and sweet, while a kind boy held her up while they turned once around the lantern-lit room. The water ran on over the stones the way water does, carrying everything gently forward, the way it always has, toward whatever comes next.